All right, welcome to Culture Couch Live. We've got Woz, Jez, and Carly. How are you guys?
Rosie, what's up?
How are you?
Carly?
Hello.
Excellent, guys. Now, we've had quite a few comments and questions. So rather than going to one question, I'll probably frame it a little bit and we'll jump into the Culture Couch Live. Probably some more around let's give some good examples of leadership. We talked a lot about politicians last week, et cetera, et cetera. A couple of people said, can we have some really good examples? The other one that came up a bit was the 13 points, Carly, and I'll refer to you and you can run through them. Really good self-awareness. A few said, look, I'm not great at them. How do I get better at some of those points? So probably today's discussion, guys, will just wrap around that sort of bubble. So Carly, maybe I'll throw to you first. And so if you can just go through those 13 points so we can refresh people that either saw it or people that didn't see it will know what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. So the book we were referring to was Stephen Covey's The Speed of Trust. So it talks all about the 13 traits of a good leader, the behavioural traits of a good leader. So the 13 traits are: number 1, to talk straight; number 2, demonstrate respect; create transparency; right wrongs; show loyalty; deliver results; get better; confront reality; clarify expectations; practice accountability; listen first; keep commitments; and extend trust. So they're the 13 points.
So Murph, probably address the first question to you because we're seeing it a bit more now. When we talk about self-awareness as a leader, it is very hard as you're going up the org chart to gather all 13 of those traits, isn't it? So a lot of them are learned skills. So we're now doing a fair bit of work with some of our leaders, aren't we, in one-on-one coaching and actually talking through a lot of those concepts.
Yeah, the first thing I think is that what we were sort of saying last week was that not that some politicians don't display some of those, but that there's very few politicians that display most of those. And yeah. I think that's really critical because even as you read through those, Carly, like I know myself that sometimes I might fall down on one or two of those things and you think, wow, I wish I could have been better then. And so you take that as a learning as you move forward. So I think that's important. But to your point, Rizzy, as well, yeah, most people get promoted, don't they? Because they're good at their job. So technically they're good at their job. And so as a result of that, you keep rising up through the org chart. But the truth about it is so often you get into the executive team or even the CEO's role and you haven't been coached or you haven't been taught how to lead people and how to get people going together in the same way at the same time. And so the capacity to suddenly just turn that on is almost impossible. So probably the biggest growth part of our business, isn't it, is the one-to-one coaching where we're getting people coming to us and saying, hey, I know how to do my job from a technical perspective, say a CFO being appointed as the CEO, for example, but I really need some help in managing people and managing the group. And can you help us with that? So it is an absolute area that as leaders, what we need to do is focus on where are my areas for growth, and then targeting those. And if you need coaching, then absolutely get it. But yeah, it's not so straightforward.
It comes back to the points we make often, though, isn't it? That high performance teams have the ability to know when they need help and to be able to ask for help. Yeah. So if you're in a CEO role or an executive role, even a management role of any kind, and you know that you've got a gap and you're asking for help, that's a really good trait to have. But also it is lonely at the top. So there's not a lot of other people in your business doing the same role that would understand and be able to coach you and comment on the same issues that you're going through. So that's why that coaching is really so important, isn't it?
Yeah, people don't give you feedback either. Or was you notice like you're and Rizzy, you're the same as head coach or was as the CEO. People often don't give you feedback when you're the boss because they're worried about their job. And so, like, particularly if you've got, difficult times, financial times with COVID and people, in and out of work, like people aren't going to just come up and give the boss feedback unless the boss is really created that space.
And I think the question to you was too, I mean, what was the turning point for you in a sense? Because you were running a big company, and I suspect, well, you have. We've seen you evolve, over the last 4 years in ticking a lot of those boxes. But I guess if you had done a self-analysis 4 years ago, you probably didn't tick a lot of those boxes. So what was the transformation for you, or where was the turning point? And what would the advice be that you would give to someone that's saying, well, I don't do that, which most of us don't, Murph, to be honest, you're right. But what's the advice that you would give to those people out there wanting to improve in those areas?
I think that's, like, you've nailed it. Most people who get into those positions, if they haven't fundamentally got self-awareness, it's not always innate, because you've got to that position, so you're in your own head psychologically, you've hit the levels of success to achieve that role. And so once you've achieved the role, your behavior of what you've done in the past has got you there. So why do I need to change? What do I need to do to improve? And I think that's where, over time, you're not, maybe with your team, they're not going to give you that feedback because they're worried about the repercussions of doing so. So having someone external, I think my biggest thing first off is having you guys, yourself and Jez, in my wheelhouse to identify that, first off, you can continually improve. I always talk straight, but is there opportunity for me to get better, even though I deliver my results? But results are not just necessarily individual outcomes. The results could be better relationships internally, and looking at all of those different times where, you might not see how you're acting and behaving in that scenario, and having the ability to sound that against a person in your a coach or an individual person who's giving you guidance will allow you to see things that you might see in those scenarios. And that's critical, that individual's external support person being able to guide you in those scenarios.
Let's explore that self-awareness, because I think it's probably the most underrated trait that people don't talk about. Because there's this natural thought, I've just been promoted to CEO, I've just been promoted to CFO, I must know everything. That's the worst thing you can do, isn't it, really? The worst thing you can do is think, I actually know everything about the job. Because the reality is you've never done the job before most times. Yeah. So by the very nature of that, you don't know. Murph, so take that concept, because I think it's a really important part. You talk a lot about asking questions. Asking questions, if I ask questions, then I'll start to get some answers. But if I don't ask questions and I don't listen, it's very hard for me to improve in a lot of those 13 points.
Yeah, I think as we all know, we love Brené Brown's work, and she continually talks about taking the armor off and having the capacity to be vulnerable. And if you break it down simply, I think that the capacity to ask for help in the workplace is the single most important thing, because if I feel okay to ask Warren or Carly or you for help in the workplace, then what it means is that I'm prepared to say, hey, look, I don't know that. In return, what you do is you say, hey, of course I'd help you, Jared. So you come back to me with the answer. And so that builds trust, because you know that I'm not going to just go away and do it and mess it up. So you've got this, me showing vulnerability, you helping me out, which in turn builds trust, which in turn builds performance cohesion in the team. So it's sort of this amazing positive cycle that the group gets into, but it's all based on the capacity of people in the team, and particularly the leader. The leader's got to lead by example. So understanding that me doing this as a leader, me being self-aware about being prepared to share the fact that I don't know everything, will have this huge ripple effect right through the organization. And it's fantastic to see when you see it.
Not just on that, not just knowing everything. One of the things is, more recently, going into a meeting where something negative does creep back in. So, let a scenario that was like one of our feedback sessions get the better of me when there was a bad performer in the room giving them feedback, and they weren't just accepting it that well. And I walked away from the meeting and had a meeting with the executive team afterwards, and I said, I could have handled that a lot better. And that sort of level of vulnerability and saying, I didn't do this well, was a great sort of I guess, reflection to the team that I'm willing to accept, that I can see in the moment. I'm self-aware enough that I let the moment get emotional and I got really angry at the person. That's key as well, not just knowing everything, but correcting yourself and apologising when things don't go well.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Carly, I want to ask you, because it's you've lived it in a corporate sense, but your husband, Ben, who reached out to me, was really interesting. So I don't know, take me through that conversation, because I've actually never had this conversation with you, but just Ben's ability to pick up the phone, give me a phone call. I think we met just in a coffee shop in Richmond. But so to the boys' point, the first step is reaching out and actually asking for help. So you've seen it real life with Ben and his company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my previous role, my managing director role, I had an executive coach. And again, it wasn't something that I knew that I needed to have. It was something that my then CEO said to me, you know, to help you with your development, I think it would be really good for you to have an executive coach, because I don't think when you're in that position, you necessarily know where to go to look for the right person. And the connection between the coach and the coachee is really important, to have common interests, to like each other, and to really build that rapport over time. So I think it's really important to have people who can guide you in that direction, so you know where to go. But also, when you're in a role like that, things are hectic. Like every day you've got back-to-back meetings, you've got things going on all the time, you're making really quick decisions on the go, non-stop. And you don't often have time just to take a step back and to think, okay, how am I going at the moment? You know, what am I doing? Are there things that I'm not doing well? How do I improve that? And I think to put your hand up and say that you need that coaching, or it would be good for you, gives you that time. And even if it's an hour a month, which is sometimes all it needs to be, it's really good to just keep you on track, just to stop and think about, what are the things, how am I going, what do I need to remember to focus on? Because you just get so caught up, you don't think about it. And as you mentioned, I think the same with Ben, like he knew that, you know, he's in a startup business, they're growing really quickly. He's, as a CEO, is very focused on, you know, venture capital investment and team growth and product development, that you need someone with an external view who has experience in that space, just to give you that time each month just to focus on those skills that you really need to develop. And that's what's great about our program, is that when you find someone that you work really well together and you can see the help that you're giving them over time and really see them develop, I think, and Jared's talked about that a lot, you know, to see how they develop over time is really satisfying for us.
Yeah, I mean, the transformation's pretty stark, isn't it? If we're able to work with the whole team, guys, and individually with this, it just works a lot quicker, doesn't it? Because you get the team concept merged straight away, and then suddenly you get the leader that's self-aware, that's chipping away and leading the way he should be leading, or she should be leading.
Yeah, well, by definition, Rizzy, leadership means that you're leading people. So, you know, it's no use sort of you being the greatest leader in the world and no one's following you, because you're not really a great leader then. So the point, and mind you, there are people who try to manage up and don't give a fat rat's ass about the people that sit below them. So being an authentic leader and understanding what you need to do for the people who you are leading is very, very important.
But also to understand your own leadership style. And Rizzy, I was talking to you the other day, and Tammy said the same to me. Like, when you're coaching people and you're asking what is your why, or what is your purpose, or what are your own values, I don't think a lot of leaders have actually thought about that and have actually mapped that out in terms of their own personal journey. And I think that's quite an important step too that we have in our program.
Yeah, fantastic. Terrific, guys. Well, hopefully we've covered a fair bit of issues, but we wanted to try and summarise the comments from last week. So, yeah, look, we're not saying that everyone's going to have those 13 down pat, but if you're going to fight it and you're going to try and be completely different to those 13, well, you're really going to be a poor leader. There's no question about that. So there's no way around it. You know, if you want to be a really good leader, you know, you have to exhibit those, but learn them. They are learned skill. You can develop them. We've seen some great examples of people that have done that. So hopefully, guys, that's given everyone a little bit of a summary of last week's Culture Couch Live. And we'll see you.
Before we go, Rosie, I've got two questions. First one is that a lolly necklace, Carly?
No, it's not, but it probably looks like that.
They used to be huge.
I was waiting for you to pick it up and start chewing on it.
So
They were massive, those.
still have them.
Second one.
So
I
Second
was
one,
telling my kids the other day, Murph, you'll like this. I was telling my kids the other day, I used to play tennis on a Sunday, and I go to the local fish and chip shop, 2 potato cakes and 20 cents of chips for 30 cents. They couldn't believe it. 30 cents for lunch it was on a Sunday.
yeah,
Now, I
but
won't tell you what year it was.
I was going to say, but you played in the days of black and white television, didn't you?
That's what they said too. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you all. See you guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you all next week on
See
the
you later.
Culture Couch Live.
bye-bye.